Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Low Mileage Running Podcast. I'm your host, Aaron Olson, and I'm excited to share with you that last week I published my book, Low Mileage Running, a short guide to running faster, injury-free. And I'm going to be publishing this episode to my podcast, Paleo Runner, and also to my new podcast, Low Mileage Running, which will soon be available on iTunes and Stitcher and everywhere else. And the Low Mileage Running podcast is going to be focused more just on the training aspect of running. My other podcast, Paleo Runner, is primarily focused on nutrition with a little bit of training mixed in. And so anyways, I published my book last week. The second day it was out, it ended up number 4 in the running and jogging category on Amazon. So it's been selling quite well. Within a couple of days, I recorded the audiobook, and it says that it's on its way to retail, which means that within a few days, it will be on Audible, it will be on iTunes, and it will be on Amazon, available for download. And if you make that book, Low Mileage Running, a short guide to running injury-free, if you sign up and make my book your first purchase with Audible, I get a small kickback. So I really appreciate if you did that. The book, the print, and it's out in print and Kindle. The Kindle is $3. The print is $7, and the audio version should be somewhere around $10. And if you buy the print, you can get the Kindle version for $1. I believe if you buy the Kindle version, you can get a discount on the Audible version as well. Anyways, I wanted to share with you a few thoughts that I had today. I'm also going to be sharing with you a interview that I did with my friends at Back of the Pack Endurance podcast, and they had me on their show last week to ask me a few questions about my book, and so I'm going to share that with you at the end of this. One thing I wanted to share was a key concept from the book, and that is listening to your body. And this is something that I always struggle with, but I know that I need to do it because it's kept me injury-free and helps me get faster. And today, for example, I did not listen to my body. Usually Mondays are sort of like my weekend day because I work Thursday through Sunday, and I'm usually pretty tired on Mondays, so I never have great workouts, but I had a lot of pent-up energy. I wanted to get out there and run a quality workout this morning, so I woke up early to get out before the sun got too hot, and I was planning on doing a 12 to 15 mile quality run, and I was pretty much just exhausted, but I kept pushing and I kept pushing, and around 7 miles I could not maintain the pace that I wanted to any longer, so I just ended up quitting the workout, and I'm going to try again on Tuesday or Wednesday and see how it goes. But my point is, I know that I'm tired on Mondays. I'm always tired on Mondays. Why do I keep pushing myself to try to do a quality workout on Mondays when I know I shouldn't? Listen to your body, and because these quality workouts need to be at a pretty high level for you to get the adaptations that you want out of them. If you're just out there slogging away the miles like I was this morning, it's not really doing the purpose that was meant for that run. So keep that in mind. Listen to your body. I know that I always perform better on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, and so I need to make those days my quality workouts as I have in the past. On your easy days, when you're listening to your body, and just get out there, get some exercise, get some sunshine. You can cross-train, rest, go to the pool, whatever makes you feel energized and ready for another quality workout. So with that in mind, here's my interview with Back of the Pack Endurance. It's with Andrew Weaver and John Harris. I hope you like it. Thanks.
I see the picture.
I hear him.
I think
hey, how's it going, guys?
Hey, Aaron, how you doing?
That is a
good.
smooth, buttery voice.
It is.
Thank you.
Well, I have to tell you, Aaron, I've been listening to the voice most of the day.
Oh, really? Okay.
You know,
What do you think so far?
That's a good mic.
I liked it. Yeah, I liked it. It was better because I know you're not doing it. I guess we should introduce them, but I know you're not doing it like professional. You're kind of doing it yourself, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Yeah, it came out very well. I bet much better than I expected it to be, actually.
Oh, well, thanks a lot.
Yeah. So yeah.
What John just said is he had low expectations, Aaron. How do you take that?
Well, but you know, when
Nah,
you self-publish and
sure.
do this stuff, you don't know what kind of quality it's going to be.
Well, and your podcast, when you had it, you definitely didn't have as good a mic as what I hear you on right now. I know that.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I've upgraded recently. This is ATR 2100. It was only around $50, but it works. Seems
wow.
to do pretty good sound.
That's cheaper than what John and I are using.
Yeah.
So, by the way, I just saw Skype told me, happy birthday?
It's coming up in September.
September?
Oh.
Why did Skype tell me it was your birthday?
I don't know. I might have that. I'm not sure. I'll have to check that out.
Now,
All right.
when is September is your birthday?
September 4th.
Mine's September 2nd.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, very close. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was about to harass you for agreeing to podcast on the night of your birthday. So you should be out. You're young. You should be out partying. Then I remembered, no, wait, you have a baby.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
You were one of the early guests on our show, and I think you were just about to become a father. So
Yes.
you must have a little squiggly one now. How's that part of your life treating you?
It's great. It's a lot more work than I thought it was going to be, but it's a lot of fun.
It always is, man.
It's always a lot of more work than people think it's going to be. I'm telling you.
Yeah, but she's a year and a half now, and she just that's one of my favorite things to do now is just spend time with her. Go to the park and blow bubbles or whatever. It's just a lot of fun.
Do you ever see that? Go ahead, John.
No, I'm sorry. The best thing about having kids is just you get to be one again.
Yeah,
that's what my favorite part about it was. It's like, oh, I get to play with toys again.
yeah.
Aaron, did you ever see the movie Knocked Up?
Yeah, I did.
There's a great line toward the end where it is, but the guy they're watching the kids play in the backyard, and one says, I am never in my life as excited about anything as that kid is right now about bubbles.
That's right.
That's so true. Yeah. I mean, that's one of the first things she says when she wakes up is bubbles, bubbles. She's a year and a half now.
Aw, that's adorable.
And it just shows you how long we've been like in social media and in contact with each other and all this, because you didn't have kids when we first met you.
Yeah.
And like Andy said, you were actually back on the old show, Iron Man Year One, on episode 4.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So I looked it up. I found it. And I'm going to link it in the show notes. So if people want to listen to that old one, they can go back and listen.
We changed the name, but we kept numbering it so that this is like we're well into the 80s. John, what episode is this anyway?
This is episode 87.
87.
Yeah.
All right. Last week we 86 something. That's right.
That's right.
Wow. 87.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, folks, our guest is Aaron Olson, father of one, lover of bubbles. But we have him on for a very specific topic tonight because he has a new book in print and in e-print, and we're going to talk to him about that tonight.
So
there it is.
Yeah. So the name of the book is like Low Mileage Running: A Short Guide to Earning Faster, Injury Free. And Aaron, I don't know if you listen to the show, but we've brought this up many times, and I've gotten to a number of discussions online about this subject.
Okay.
Because I am a believer in this. So it's good to see someone that's not built like Andy and I also touting it, for one thing. And but the reason I believe in it is because my body just can't hack it.
Yeah.
I have I have psoriatic arthritis and my body just won't do it.
Right.
So I've almost had to do this. But much like you write about, it's like when you started doing it, you got faster.
Yeah.
And when you didn't even think you could get faster by doing this, and I've seen the same thing. I've gotten better by actually backing off.
Oh, that's fantastic to hear.
Yeah. So I'm a big believer in this. I know there's people out there listening to this right now that are saying, "Oh my God," but
Well,
go ahead.
I have some actual questions I've written down, believe it or not. John, I finally get
oh my God.
I finally get prepared right before we go on break.
Yeah.
Aaron, we're going to take after your episode is going to be listened to over and over by people who are going to be jonesing for Back to Pack Endurance podcast, because we're going to take a hiatus because I'm in a show.
Oh, okay.
So I'm the lead in the show, and I need all my weeknights right now. So.
Oh wow! Congrats on that.
Well, thank you, and it came out of the totally out of the blue.
Mm-hmm.
So, I had a third question.
What show is that? I do listen to the podcast, but not I catch it here and there. I heard the one with Jeff Galloway, and I've heard some of your other ones, but I don't always have time to listen to podcasts as much as I used to.
Sure. Goes for the big stars. I get it. I'm playing King Arthur and Spamalot.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So if you listen to this show, there'll be a lot of talk about it at the beginning. A lot.
It's the whole thing.
So if you like tweet it out to your listeners and folks for your book, say, hey, I'm on this podcast. I will not be offended if you say, my part comes in at about, let me look here.
Probably about 45 or 46.
Right? Well past 45-minute mark. Yeah. About 45-minute mark.
Yeah.
Because we're just talking like we do with Back of Pack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I know what my third question was. So let's, if I may, what constitutes low mileage and how relative is that?
Well, that's a great question because, I guess the title of the book, it is kind of arbitrary, low mileage running. What does that actually mean? And for me, as a high school runner who was near the front of the pack quite often, and then I ran a year in college, everyone was sort of expected to at least run 50 miles a week. And if you didn't do that, then you weren't really training. And so I kind of always had that stuck in my head that I've got to at least do a minimum of, say, 50 miles, and 60 or 70 would be even better. And I found that my body just isn't built that way. It doesn't handle that kind of stress, and I broke down frequently. So low mileage for me, it usually ends up being around 25 miles a week. And some weeks will end up being, in the low 30s, some more in the, 15 to 20, but around that 25-mile range. And what I've found through really just kind of throwing out that idea that I need to hit a certain amount of mileage, a lot of runners are kind of OCD, and I was one of them who I had to hit a certain mileage every week. Mm-hmm. And what that did was just wear my body out rather than build me up. And so I really don't focus on the mileage that much. I look on Strava just to get kind of get an average of what I've been doing just for fun. But I really focus on the key workouts or the quality workouts. And I do 1 to 2 of those a week. And I really focus on hitting those hard and kind of comparing my times from week to week or even from year to year. And really, I don't look at my overall mileage that much, except for just now and then.
Now, I know there are people still picking themselves up off the floor right now who are saying 25 miles is a low week.
Oh.
So for, so how do you translate that? So you're a competitive runner. I mean, I wasn't able to read the whole thing. Mm-hmm. But I started, skimming the book, and you were citing examples of like your times that have dropped and this kind of thing. And you're a very competitive runner. You were setting a course record and had a PR, for your 5K that you just won and things like that. Being Back of Pack folks, for whom a 25-mile week might be the longest week somebody ran, but how would you how do they translate the same kind of principles you're promoting for somebody who's maybe starting out where a 12-mile week is a really, good week?
Yeah, that's a really good point. And before I started writing the book, I was coaching through my website and blog. And I had 5 different people that I was coaching, and they were all, there was a couple guys who were more towards the front of the pack, and then 3 guys who were more back of the pack guys. And I guess I used the same principles with the guys who were just starting out. There was one guy who had never run before, and he wanted to finish a 5K with his wife and daughter. And for him, I used the same principles in that we focused on 1 to 2 days a week of really quality workouts. And for him, that meant 2 to 3 miles of, say, some interval running, or maybe going out for a 2-mile time trial and recording the time and getting back to me on that. And then the other days were just cross training, going for a walk, maybe going for a 20-minute jog. And so his overall mileage was probably somewhere in the 10 to 15 miles per week, actually probably closer to 10. So I think it can work for people who are who really maybe don't have time, or for whatever reason, their body can't even handle 25 miles a week. The principle that I'm trying to get across is to just find the minimum amount that you can do, and do that, and hit it hard once or twice a week, and then allow your body to recover, and you'll get stronger. And so I think it can work for, a lot of different people of different levels. 25 miles a week, that's what, I think that's less than 4 miles a day. So for me, that seems easy. But, if you're just starting out, 5 to 10 miles a week is a fine place to start, and do the minimum that you think you can do, and just build from there. That's what I'm trying to put forth with this book, is that this is just a starting point. If you eventually find that you need to add more mileage later, that's fine, but just don't hurt yourself. Make slow, steady progressions, and start small. And if you need to add more later, that's fine.
Yeah, I like how you said that, actually, Aaron, because I come from athletics in high school and through the military and stuff, and you're right. It was always about push, to the point that once it gets in your head, even back then when you're 16, 17, and now I'm in my was in my 40s when I started, and now going to be 52, it's still in my head that I have to push. And my coach is Megan Fanning, and she's always saying, she's actually had me back off. She's the one that's made me my first triathlon coach was another one that kept saying, well, it doesn't matter if you're tired, doesn't matter if you feel like you're hurt, get out there, go do it, push through it, and do the miles. And Megan is more, well, go do 45 minutes, try to push to the point where it's a little uncomfortable, but not to the point that you're going to get hurt. And if it starts hurting, stop, so it's a very different kind of coaching for me, but it's working.
Yeah.
I don't feel like I'm hurt all the time. And for a while there, I was getting burned out on doing races at all, or doing this training at all, because I just felt like I was always hurt. And so, like I said, I'm glad that, and you talked about the quality workouts, and that your favorite quality workout is the time trial. And that's what she's starting to like throw at me now, is these time trials.
Now, help me out for some other listeners that might not know, because I'm used to the terminology of speed work and intervals, and I kind of interchange them in my head. And I was going to ask you, like, is this just basically a really well thought out case for speed work? Because I've even heard people say large people should not try speed work, and everything should be zone 2. Comparing like what kind of I guess terminology people are used to, are you seeing anything different than that? What's a time trial precisely?
Yeah,
I know what that means in terms of starts for triathlon, but if I said I was going to go run does that mean run as hard as I can for 2 miles to see what my fastest time is?
Yeah, I mean, basically that's what it is. And this is basically just started off of what worked for me. And so that's kind of what I wrote about in this short book, is just what worked for me, and maybe it can work for other people too. It's not a one size fits all. It's, hey, here's some things that worked well for me, and try it out. And basically I love running time trials, which means just, hey, I'm feeling good today. I have a 3-mile loop that I like to run through around a park near my house. It's a wooded area, and I'm going to go and see how fast I can run that hilly 3-mile loop. And that's a time trial. And I can look back on my my Strava or Garmin and see over the years how that time trial has progressed, or different times of the year. I can compare my times. And so it's basically, just hitting it hard once a week and doing like a solo race almost.
As a data geek, I love that kind of that idea, because I have a 4-mile loop that's close to my house, and I was doing that without even knowing what I was doing, because I would say, I'm gonna compare these 4 miles all the time, because I know it's the same course all the time, and see if I'm getting faster, if I'm getting slower, if I ate this kind of breakfast, did it affect my run that night, or things like that. And I would do that naturally. So it's not without knowing there was a time, there was a phrase for it or anything like that.
So let me give you a profile then. So I'll give you my own profile. Not right now, but I can say this was the kind of runner I was quite a long time. So a new runner, heavier, slower, very slow runner, who has one speed, whether it's a half marathon, the end of a half Ironman, or a 5K, or a training run. Pretty much the same speed, probably zone 2, maybe push a little harder in a race, but not typically. And a mileage junkie, because the feeling of achievement, of the volume, seemed to mean a lot early in the running life. Switching over to something more like what you'd recommend. What do I got to get over? What do I got to lock into to change mentalities? Because I'm not a guy who's used to sprinting, but everything I've seen tells me that's the only way I'm going to make changes in my body.
Well, when you talk about different zones, I mean, a zone 2 for someone who's bigger and slower, it could be almost a walk. I mean, it's all relative to where you're at. And so if you're with someone that you just described, I would recommend taking 1 to 2 days a week and having either intervals or some sort of time trial that you can compare every week or every couple weeks and say, okay, how am I doing on that? Even if you have to walk part of it, or if walking is a high intensity, that's perfectly fine. But I bet if you keep doing that course 1 week and then come back to it a couple weeks later, you might be tempted to try to best yourself and best your previous time. And that's a big part of this, is just, hey, what did I run this course in 2 weeks ago? Okay, I'm going to try to do it like 30 seconds faster or something like that.
Yeah, almost like creating an internal competition with yourself. And the good thing about I don't think Andy has the new Garmin, but the new Garmin is that you can actually set your watch to do that.
Yeah.
Say, okay, I'm going to race against myself. This is what I'm going to try to beat. And your watch will track it.
Yeah, I've seen that feature. Have you used that yet?
Yeah. I have not, and I'm going to. Well, I want to try. This is kind of speed work, but it's more intervals, I guess. We have a track. We joined the National Training Center, which is the USAT's home in Claremont, Florida, and not USAT, but it's one of the triathlon groups. But they have a track out there, and I want to try to do like 100 to 200 meter sprints, and then jog back, and then do the sprint, and then jog back. And kind of do that kind of thing for a while. I know Megan's trying to get me to get like a tire or a sled to do some pulling. I come from a sprinting background, so I think my biggest issue is that that's what I try to do all the time.
Okay.
It's just, and I think my body's just built. Well, it's not built like that now, but I think my muscle fibers are built like that. Yeah. It's still in there.
No wonder you hate slow twitch. You're a fast twitch guy.
I'm a fast twitch guy, yeah. But then you brought up a good point, Andy, is that we've heard from other podcasts and other people, and stuff forever that zone 2 is the way to go for heavy guys, and that's the way you lose weight, because you get fat adapted, your body starts burning fat more, you lose the fat, you get thinner. But now recently, all these studies are coming out saying, no, the way to lose weight is to do intervals and speed work. That's what's going to get the weight off of you, not the long, slow zone 2 runs.
Well, look, I mean, I don't even think that's necessarily recent conventional wisdom.
Well,
if you look at like a marathon runner versus Usain Bolt, I'd rather be built like Usain Bolt.
Right, exactly. Right.
I mean, as far as leanness, and they're both lean, but
muscular, the muscular, and
what was I just had a thought, and then
for just like, I guess for just generating that weight loss, to kick in weight loss, we've been told for a while that zone 2.
Yeah.
And I guess recently I'm coming to this epiphany that maybe that's why I haven't been able to lose weight, because that's all I've been doing. And
right, and the body's adaptive and will be very efficient. And so the theory behind something like CrossFit, or anything that uses sudden explosive movements, or whether it's weight or sprinting, is that your body's not adjusting in that short term, and you're I don't know.
Right. Yeah.
Any movement's good, but yeah, it just seems that what you're describing, Aaron, is working out smarter, not harder necessarily.
Yeah.
But what would be then? What are some you said quality workouts? So can you define what are some hallmarks of a quality workout? How do I feel after I'm done? Is that it, or what would you say?
Yeah, well, the guidelines for a quality workout is really to sort of maximize whatever adaptations you're looking for your upcoming race. So let's say you're training for the half marathon. Well, that's going to require some not extreme, but some good endurance work, which would be somewhere like a 8 to 10 mile tempo run or time trial, or maybe another quality workout that I have for the half marathon is 7 to 10 by 1 mile with a 1 minute rest. Now that I guess that is when you're talking to people who haven't been running much, that can sound like a lot. But what you could start with is 3 by 1 mile with a 1 minute walk break in between each mile, and gradually work your way up to that 7 to 10 by a mile. So, and if you're training for the 5K, a classic workout for the 5K is to split up the 5K into half mile segments. So you've got 6 half mile segments in a 5K. So you run at what you would like to run for that 5K, like a goal pace for a half mile. Then you take a 1 to 2 minute walk break. And then you say, okay, I'm going to run another half mile at my goal pace. And you slowly start breaking up the race into segments. And that really trains your brain and your body how to accept, those higher levels of fatigue, those higher velocities of speed that you're running, and so forth. And I think that's the main idea with intervals. And then time trials can kind of help put everything together and kind of cement in your mind, hey, I can actually run pretty close to this pace that I've been doing these intervals at. And so it can give you a lot of confidence.
Yeah, I was talking to another part of the book I liked and I found really interesting. I was talking to our buddy Tom Barbieri on his podcast, actually, and I was explaining how, see if the best way to explain this, but I was explaining how, like, during a race, that even though I know I should be faster, it's almost like I can't. It's like my brain is not letting me go faster. And then in the book you talk about the central governor, which I found really interesting.
Hello,
because
governor.
Sorry. Hello.
So thinking of accent
I knew that was
from
coming.
last night. You knew it. Hello, governor.
But that's almost, when I was reading about it, it's like, okay, that's what it is. It's my brain telling me. Well, Megan says, I know what it is. It's fear. You're scared of getting hurt. You're scared of, but that's what my brain's doing. My brain is saying,
the dark side.
I'm sorry. This break is going to be so
but I lost my train of thought.
Oh, you were making a legitimate point about your central governor and fear and your brain shutting
down. But it feels like that's exactly what it is that my brain is telling me not to go faster, you're going to get hurt, not to do this. And I'm having a hard time busting through that.
Yeah.
And so I found that part of the book like really interesting. And I was actually just listening to it on the way home. It was that part. I was to that part on the audio.
Okay.
So what I need to do, and exactly what you said, and Megan said it to me as well, is that during training, when I feel that feeling, that's when I need to start pushing through it. Pushing to break through that. Yeah.
I
to
totally
kind of
agree.
teaching my brain to accept that fatigue. Yeah. And there's something in my brain that's just not letting me push through this fatigue.
Well, I think running is a huge mind game. I mean, for me at least it is, and I know other people it is as well. And it just that's one of the reasons that I love these quality workouts. And if you can't do them too often though, 1 to 2 times a week is going to be plenty. If you try to do these every day or 3 or 4 times a week, you're going to wear yourself out. But you want to specifically try to go to the well and really push it once or twice a week and really push your body over that level and see what it's like to experience a little bit more pain, not pain in a bad way, but the fatigue that comes with it, and see what that's like, and sort of dabble towards the extremes, and then really come back and recover.
So let's say somebody like myself who's been away from running for far too long.
Mm-hmm.
I want to get back into it, but I don't want to just run. Well, there's my other question. You know, we used to say, is there any such thing as junk miles? And, you know, the school of thought among folks like us has tended to be all miles count for, you know, conditioning and health. But I guess I won't put words in your mouth, but are you saying there kind of are junk miles?
Yeah, I guess I am kind of saying that. Now, I have to say it with the caveat that I think running or doing some form of exercise every day is good and healthy. It helps my mood. It helps reset your circadian rhythm and get you know, your day and night cycles and things like that. But just going out there to just run, say, for 60 or 90 minutes with no real purpose, you don't have any specific pace in mind or anything like that, I think that sort of stuff is more classified in my mind as junk miles, because I'm not sure what it's really doing. It beats you up a little bit. It makes you sore, but is it really helping you race faster? That's what I started to question. And when I pulled back on those, you know, so-called junk miles and just kind of listened to my body and ran more what I felt like doing on my recovery or easy days, I'd just go out for a 20-minute jog. And I thought, you know, I've had so many injuries in the past. I'm going to basically scale back on those junk miles and see what can happen. And for me, it worked good.
So it's the 80-20 rule, as you talked about too.
Exactly.
And yeah, coming from a business, you know, that's where I work. I mean, we use the 80-20 rule all the time, you know, that 80% of your results come from 20% of your training.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so that's what you're talking about right there. You're talking about, like, you know, stop worrying about this 80% that's not doing anything for you and focus on that 20% that does something, you know. And
so, yeah, well, I'm going to take my example even more specific then, if I may, try to pull out some free coaching here. And maybe I'll end up getting somebody to write me a plan. But all right, so I am still intending to do this event in October. It's the Runner's World Challenge, or it's a half marathon Sunday, a 5K and a 10K on Saturday. And because I'm an idiot, I signed up for the trail run, which I think I'm just going to walk. I'm just going to hike that just to put the mileage in. But so I'm looking at doing some big mileage all in the same weekend. I want to survive it. But my running has been very little and sporadic since March when I did a half marathon, and I had knee surgery, and so, you know, I've got all these reasons and blah blah blah. But now I want to get back into it. I should not just say, okay, 8 miles this week, however I get them. No. 8 miles, however I get them. Would it do me much better to, if I can only sprint a quarter mile, to go out and sprint that quarter mile tomorrow, and that's that day's workout, and maybe next week I can sprint half a mile? Am I reading you right?
Well, in that case, I mean, it sounds like, now that I'm hearing more of the backstory, I mean, you've had a knee surgery and you haven't been running for a while. So in that case, I would say just get to the point where you can run comfortably, say for 30 minutes, 2 to 3 times a week. And once you get to that point, then you know, talk about adding in some more higher quality work. But I'd want to make sure that your knee is functioning well, that you don't have any pain. You know, I talked about pushing through pain, but the type of pain I'm talking about is really more fatigue. If you're feeling a sharp stabbing pain, that's not something you want to push through. Right. So yeah. I'm definitely on board with just kind of getting out there and seeing how you're feeling before adding the quality. But then once you do start to feel good, take one of those 30-minute runs, turn it into a 10 or 15-minute run, and just say, I'm gonna see what I can do. For how far can I get in 10 minutes, and then do that once a week. Come back the next week. Can I go a little bit farther in 10 minutes? So it's kind of that approach.
I kind of like that, actually.
Yeah,
that sounds pretty cool.
And where I live, I mean, it's very hilly, but I can see myself like, okay, I'm going to run hard for 10 minutes and then walk home. And then, okay, then maybe I can get to that next pole next time in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
No, I didn't think you'd have me all out trying to tear up my knee in a sprint right away. But I think that's a model I might just have to use here.
Yeah, I'd love to see the results. And, I mean, this is something some people, I guess if you're a diehard runner and you're listening to this and you might be thinking, well, this is crazy. But even people like Jeff Galloway, who you guys talked to, he's taken kind of a more, I guess, lower mileage approach. I've read his books and he's always talking about scaling back. And I think he has in a lot of his programs running 2 to 4 days a week. So it's not quite as radical as maybe some people have, commented on my blog, this will never work for me or whatnot, because as people get older, I think that they realize that how much, they can't handle as much on their body as they could when they were young.
Well, I take those comments like this, Aaron, is that it seems to me, because when I've brought it up before, and my thing was always, where does this say you have to run 26.2 miles to prepare for a marathon? As your long run. I've just never gotten that concept.
I was just going to say, I know that the scale makes things different. And I don't mean the scale like poundage. I mean the scale of the distance. But look at what ultra runners do. All right. So if somebody's going to prepare for a 100-mile run, it's not like 2 weeks before they have to do an 85-mile long run. And if you were to do things proportionally at ultra level that we assume we have to do for a half or a full marathon, and focusing on mileage as the indicator, well, how would ultra runners ever do a 100-miler?
Right.
Because they can't be out every week before that building up. Now I do 70, now I do 75, now I do 80, now I do 85. That just does not happen. And so the minimal, mileage can work for them. It's relatively minimal. I mean, they're still putting in probably 70-mile weeks, but not one run. So why can't a marathoner? Why does a marathoner have to do big run after big run?
Right. Exactly. But I think what I was going to say is that, when the people make these comments, it's almost like when you tell people that bread is bad for you. Well, I can't give up bread, so they're just not going to do it. And I take some of these comments like that. It's like, well, studies show that you don't really need to run the distance of the race to prepare for the race, and people just don't want to believe that. Yeah, because that's not how they were taught. It's not what makes them comfortable. I hate bringing Megan up, but I think her coach recently, she just ran a 24-hour race last weekend.
Oh yeah, by the way, we should give a shout out. Congratulations, Megan, on
nice job.
Race.
Yeah. But she was her coach pulled her back to like 35 miles a week. And she is an ultra runner. So, and she shared with me that, she was struggling with that concept as well, but it worked.
And you're not just referring to her taper, right?
Right. No,
I think people know the taper, traditional taper time. It was
her
prior to that.
Was like, and Megan, if I'm, misspeaking, please, correct me, but I'm pretty sure that's what she said, is that they had her on 35 miles a week of total running. And, which totally went against her grain, I'm sure, as a long distance runner like she is. But it worked,
right?
And she finished that run. She did 24 hours,
Wow.
So it's almost like some people, even you can throw as many examples and as many studies at it. If they don't want to believe something, they're just not going to believe it, and there's just runners out there that just will not believe that you don't have to run 50 to 100 miles a week to be prepared. And I tell you, preparing for a marathon, if I had to run a long run of 26 miles, I'd be down for 2 weeks. Because that's how, with not only with the psoriatic arthritis, but with just being my age, and that's what I was finding, is that I was going out and doing these like training runs of 11, 12 miles for a half marathon on a Sunday, and I couldn't run again all week. So I was losing a whole week of training.
Right.
So it never made much sense to me. It made more sense as, why couldn't I just do 5 miles on Sunday and 5 miles again on Wednesday? Or something like that.
That reminds me, John, we forgot to give a shout out to the recovery machine himself. Iron Cowboy made it to day 50.
Yeah. Yes, he did.
He made it to day 50, and the Utah event looked really spectacular, and congratulations.
Yeah.
And
did you know about the Iron Cowboy, Aaron?
No.
He did 50 states, 50 Ironman distances, not races, but 50 Ironmans.
Simulation, I guess you could call it.
Simulations. 50 states in 50 days.
Wow. I think I did come across that on Facebook. Yeah, that's incredible.
Yeah,
And
it will
finish.
And it won't be a world record certified because of day 19.
Right.
But even so, like somebody pointed out in one of the argument threads on Slow Twitch, okay, so that's like 0.37% of the effort of the whole thing.
Yeah.
I'm still going to give him credit for an amazing event.
It's still outstanding. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just unreal. So congratulations, James. I'm glad we had you on the show. I'm glad I interviewed your kids on the show and our buddies all over the country who have gone and run or biked with you, and quite the achievement.
Yes.
In fact, I think I put him on the intro to the show today.
Oh, good. Okay, good.
Yeah. So where were we? We were talking about recovery, though, for mere mortals who are not the Iron Cowboy.
Yeah.
And John, I definitely can relate to those. The pounding of the longer runs sets me back longer than it should.
Right. And it never made much sense. Yeah, you're right. You bought those recovery boots.
I brought those pants, so it should be
but it never made much sense to me. And I think you mentioned one time, one in the book maybe, or maybe I read it somewhere else, that should you run 10 miles and rest 9 days, or 1 mile a day for 10 days or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
what is the answer to that? It's a weird, is that just a false choice? Is that like two extremes?
Well, I tell you, if I ran 10 miles, I'd be down for 9 days. I would be.
Yeah.
Well, I think that part of the book is that you have to really listen to your body. I mean, that's really the whole approach to this, is that you can't just have a rigid protocol and just go out and just follow it. I used to do that even in pacing for different races. This pace calculator says I can run this because my 5K was such and such. So dang it, I'm going to go out at that pace, and then I just crash and burn. And over time, you've got to learn to listen to your body and just really get in tune with it. And if you're finding that doing those long runs are just beating you up, you got to cut them out. I talked to one guy. His name is Jeff Ford on my podcast, Paleo Runner, and he only runs 13 miles for training for a marathon. That's the max distance he'll ever go, and that's like three weeks before the race.
I've been told that by other people, that just do 13 to 15 miles should be your long run.
See, when I use those pace calculators, they don't work, because I enter my 5K time and it said, no, dude, your 5K time, not your 10K time. And I'm like, no, that is my 5K. Like, are you using different units? Are you not metric? It doesn't acknowledge my 5K time.
I will tell you, I'm looking at the race predictor on my Garmin 920 right now, and it says my 5K time should be 31:37. I have not run a 5K in 31:37 in probably 5 years. But it's looking at, it bases this on your heart rate, I guess your VO2 max that it figures out, which is not really a VO2 max.
Wait a minute. I was going to say, your watch figures out a VO2 max?
Well, it's doing it by your heart rate and your perceived effort and stuff like that.
This watch that you reminded everybody I don't have yet?
Yeah.
Should we get a sponsor here? I want this watch.
You want this watch?
I just found my...
Did you see that? Did you see? I don't know if you saw it.
No.
Aaron, do you use the 920? You're you're a runner only, right?
Yep, 920.
Oh, okay. Did you see that they just came out with an update that it swims with your heart rate now?
Oh, that's pretty cool. No,
what? Oh, the heart rate monitor in the water?
It has a special heart rate monitor that you can get either a swim only one or a triathlon one that you can wear all the time, and it'll pick up, what it does is it records your heart rate while it's in the water, and then when you're out of the water, it uploads it. So yeah, it just came out. There's a special heart monitor.
Oh wait,
that you have to get.
Oh, so it doesn't, meaning like while you're in the water, it's not making a good transfer of data, but
it can't transfer then, but it's recording it and holding it.
Oh.
And so it's just that, that's never been available before. I just thought that it just came out a couple days ago. So yeah, I went on to Amazon to see how much one of those straps were, and they're out of stock already. $129.99.
Oh, that's just you gotta be kidding me.
For the triathlon version.
Well, because the watch itself I just looked up is a $450 watch.
$500 watch, yeah.
Dude, I wouldn't buy a $500 watch if it was a regular watch like jewelry was. All right.
But I had to have it, man.
I'm sure. But all right. Actually, I really want one now. I really maybe by the time I come back from hiatus, I'll have the 920. I'll be sprinting.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see. There, you know what, John? We should say it. Listeners, message John, since nobody ever messages me. Well, Megan, you do, but she's the third member of this podcast.
Yeah.
Message John your predictions about Andy during hiatus, and assume hiatus goes up through the show. So like we're looking like 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Am I going to be running? Am I going to have any weight loss? Am I going to be eating right? You know, I won't take it personally. Just
I think you may lose weight.
Your predictions go to John, since you all talk to him.
I think you may lose weight.
Okay. Right now, I feel like
because you will be active. You will be in the show and you'll be dancing and
yeah.
You will be active.
I'm barely dancing, John.
Yeah, but you're active.
Yeah, but it's not the motion, man. It's the if I can't lose it from running a bunch of miles, I'm not going to run it from a show.
Well, you're going to have to eat right. Yeah.
Right. And being in a show used to mean hanging out way late at night and having something to drink, which meant having a bunch of snacks. So that's what I really got to watch is
you got to watch the snacks.
Yeah. So anyway, let's get Aaron back on the show, our guest. But yeah, please message your predictions of the effect of Andy's podcast hiatus on his actual health. And John, if I'm healthier at the end of this hiatus, that might have to mean the end of the show.
That's right. It
might mean it was the podcast.
It was the show that was holding you back. It was the show. That's what it was.
Man. Anyway, well, and Aaron, you pulled away from podcasting for the purpose of writing. Do I have that right?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, pretty much. I mean, writing, coaching, and podcasting. And then raising my daughter. It was just getting to be a little bit too much, and so yeah, I had to pull back on something, and the podcast went. And but I may pick it up again. I hope I do. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was always a good show, and you know what? I noticed it wasn't there, but I didn't know why. Mm-hmm. I just people stop after a while. But I
just figured, baby,
Yeah, I figured your life gets in the way. Other shows have dropped off for a while and then come back.
Now, John, I wouldn't say life gets in the way. Priority shift. Yeah, a baby's not in the way. The baby is.
What am I life?
What was that?
Modern Family.
Oh,
Family. And he goes.
Oh yeah.
He points at Gloria. He goes, life got in the way. She goes, well, you're pointing at me for what am I life?
Oh right. All right. So, how much Monty Python do you know, Aaron?
No, not much. Not much.
All right. Start with the lumberjack sketch and go from there. Anyway, so do we have anything more to cover in the book, sir? How do people get this book if they would love to hear more? Because it's more detail for you. We do want to encourage people to check out the book, to buy the book, but it's not like some giant tome. A lot of times when you get into running books, there's big, giant detailed plans and you're trying to figure out which one to use. It's very readable and translatable. But still,
and it's at a very good price on Amazon. So
yeah.
Well, thank you for that. Yeah,
worth it.
Yeah, I have it priced for $2.99. It's on Amazon. It takes about 30 to 40 minutes to read. And I just finished recording the audiobook, so that's going to be on Audible. It'll be on iTunes and I think Amazon as well. So that's going to be under $10. And if you buy the print book, you get a discount on the Kindle version as well. So check that out. And it's just one guy's story, how it worked. And if you're doing something that you already like and it's working for you, stick with that. But if you're looking for something different, check out this book and you might find something useful.
And you're still writing at paleorunner.org? Is it org?
Yeah, paleorunner.org. I'm still writing there. I've got a new blog to support the book called lowmileagerunning.com. So if you want to get on the email list there and you'll get updates, I'm thinking about possibly starting a podcast to support low mileage running, and
that'd be great.
How that goes.
That might be workable.
What I would like to, I would really be especially interested in that show if what you can do is get case studies on of people who actually have employed it and say, I went from running this to running this, and here's my stats. So you would have kind of like the model you're saying, here's what worked for me, and here's my kind of mileage. And then get somebody else,
Here's
maybe
what somebody else did, and
Andrew, maybe we could get you on there.
There you
do
go.
Some planning of your schedule and do it before and after.
That could be very possible.
Good idea.
Yeah.
So great. Say the name of it one more time. Low mileage running. What's the subtitle?
Low mileage running, a short guide to running faster, injury free. And just type in Aaron Olson on Amazon or type in low mileage running on Amazon, and it'll be the first thing to pop up.
Yep.
Okay. Any chance you remember our sign off? It was a long time ago. We do. It's ostensibly a triathlon show. So John says swim calm. I say bike strong, and then we ask our guest to say run steady.
Yep.
Which works this time.
It works very well this time. Except once a week you should sprint. You should say that. So like run steady, but once a week hammer it or something like that. Cool?
I can do that, yeah.
All right, cool. All right. Well, once again, we want to thank our guest, Aaron Olson. Give a great big hug to that little bubble-loving baby you've got for all of us. I will see all of you after hiatus or possibly pop in the middle. And I'll still be on Facebook and commenting on the group and all that kind of thing. But, yep, you're going to have a different show for a few weeks, and you'll like it.
I hope so.
So for all of us at Back of Pack Endurance, we are now signing off saying,
swim calm,
bike strong,
run steady, except run once a week, sprint.